So Brittany, my producer and director, and truly one of my closest friends as well, um, spoke such high praises of Amber for so long, and was a recommendation like casting, and truly like I can't stress this enough in saying that she was like perfect casting. It was one of those moments where you're like, I don't know who this person is, but I hope they're good. And by good I mean she was essential in our process. So it was perfect. So yeah, we just met, but like has been like we actually like it's really funny because through Western Michigan and like FSU graduate program, like there's a lot of similar ties, which is really funny. So we're bound to meet, I think.
Okay, let's kind of officially start.
Great.
First of all, bravo, bravo. I think we can all kind of, give you guys a round of applause.
Thank
What a
you.
stimulating, exciting, dramatic, punch-filled hour.
Yeah.
So way to go.
Yeah.
Katie, we want to hear from you. I'll ask a question to kind of get you started, but what I really want is the group to ask you questions, and the group can ask the actors questions. So this is just kind of a free-flowing experience. So first of all, why this play? Why this play? Why'd you write this play?
Well, I think I talked about this a little bit in our like opening night thing. But this is really crazy because I don't normally do things like this, but my producer and director friend Brittany was like, "Hey, there's this medium friend that I have that wants to do a session with me and a couple of friends. Like, would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." Like, I don't know how much I believe in this kind of stuff, but like, why not? And this medium like talked to me for like 10 minutes. And then like after the end of 10 minutes, he was like, "But you're a writer, aren't you?" And I had not ever written anything in my life to that point. And I was like, you know what? If you say I am, bitch, I am. Like, I'll go for it, you know? And so it was really funny because then he said that and I was like, you know what? I think I am a writer. And then I had started therapy like I think like it's almost been like 2 years now I started therapy. And at that same kind of time, I was talking to her a lot about different stuff that had happened to me in my life. And she was like, "Why just write it down, write it in a medium that is, truthful to you. You can journal it, you can write it in dialogue, you can write it in film. However, like can like make you process this stuff through you." And so those kind of blended at the same time. And I was like, and also at the same time, the pandemic happened. And I was like, they had that really ridiculous meme going around like, well, Shakespeare wrote like 75 plays in the like course of, all that shit. And I was like, or the plague or whatever it was. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that too. But no. And so it's kind of that's where it stemmed from. And I just wrote truth. That's all I did. I just wrote truth and like what I know, and embellished certain things here and there to make it super active and try to make it as like high risk as possible. But to be honest, most of it is just my life and what has taken place.
So how long did it take you to write it? Like from,
Start to
from
finish.
the idea to like,
Yeah. So
read?
like basically like all of these instances, all these scenes are like taking place over the course of like 10 plus years, right? And I thought they all had like a very intense through line from scene to scene, although they're very like different people from different walks of life. They all have this very like seamless through line of like, who are we as like sexual beings, and like what we like, what we don't like, what we think is right, what we think is supposed to be in our society as like far as partnership. And I was really trying really hard for a lot of years to like unpack that. And so I just picked like very clear moments they were like aha moments. These scenes were aha moments in my life that I said, oh, I've learned something new and how I see the world and how I see different things. So
Good.
yeah, I think that's like why, like that's why I did it, was just because I wanted to start talking. You just want to start talking, you know?
Well, that's
There
why
comes,
we're,
there comes a point as in your life as like an actor as well, that you're like, I don't want to do what other people tell me to do anymore. Like that's like what the goal is, but like sometimes you just want to like do what you want to hear. I want to say what I want to say and hear what I want to hear, and that's what happened. Truly, I got greedy.
well, that's why we have the Voices of Women Theater Festival, because we want to hear what people have to say. You know, we
Yeah.
want to give people an opportunity to write some things and then give you a platform, you know, and then do what you want to kind of do with them. I see Deb had a question. So anybody, if you have a question,
You got him what he needed.
raise your hand or put the hand in the chat.
Yeah, it's
Deb.
okay. Don't worry about it.
Hey, Lori, would you be able to mute yourself, please? Thank you. Katie, where do you see this going from now? What do you want to do with it next?
Yeah. So it's funny because like my roommate who wasn't able to attend the showing but watched it with me just now, like over a glass of wine. It was like really lovely. But he was like, what do you want to happen with this prior? So he asked me that same question right before you did. But he was like, so basically I have this amazing producer and director, Brittany Proya, who is like also one of my best friends, who basically was kind of like the through line to helping me submit and produce this. Like I wrote it and she was like, here, I'm going to set up a spreadsheet for you of like 75 submissions that you have to do before the end of this year. And I was like, oh, wow. Cool, let's do it, you know? And so, right, this was one of the first this festival was one of the first that I submitted to. And so now I'm like, kind of my play right now is in the ether of the world of like, you know, yes or no, which is like, you know, totally fine. So I'm kind of waiting to hear back from a bunch of this. But basically what the next step is that I want a little bit more of a staged reading developmental workshop of this, but I think I'm going to take myself out of it just so I can see myself as a full playwright and less of an actor. Like I genuinely would love to play this role one day as you saw me, but I think for the betterment of the show and to make it like the best it possibly can be, I think I need to like watch it and see how it comes through someone else's mouth and see how it comes through like their language as a different person, I think is really important. And that was one of the first things that someone told me whenever, because I had like a small audience. I had maybe 3 people watching the film that you saw.
I could hear some laughter once in a while.
Some laughing.
Yeah. I just wanted like, you know, just a little bit of audience reaction just to see. And he said, like, you should play this role, absolutely. But I think for the next couple of steps, maybe step out of it just to see really how it comes to communicate.
What did it feel like though when you said this is your first play, so to actually have somebody else's voice to your words when you heard this, the reading of it, like what was your feeling about
oh my
that?
God, like I told some people this afterwards, but I really don't think I was prepared for what happened like on the stage. Like it's one thing to be nervous about as an actor, that's, you know, a given. And then there's another thing to be nervous about being a playwright. And then there's a third level of being nervous about some instances that are very true to my life and like being exposed in that way. And all of those things piling on top of each other was like, I thought I was a professional, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Like you hear all of these like instances of people like producing, directing, acting in their own work, and it's like, how do you deal, you know? And it was a very clear like sense of I was very vulnerable for like the first couple of days of doing this, but it was also like one of the best experiences as a human being that I could ever ask for. So. Overwhelming to answer your question, very overwhelming, but like in the best.
You took a big risk.
Yeah.
You know, boldly and bravely, you know. And that's exciting, Katie. That's exciting.
Thank you.
Who else has questions for Katie? Yeah, Sherry.
I just really, I thought it was wonderful. I thought the acting was really wonderful, and the realism and the chemistry really came through. I thought with the way you had the structured pairs, and just I have a technical question and then a psychological question. But the technical question, I'm wondering if that format is something that developed over time, or if you had a clear idea in your mind that you wanted to address each pair.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had it actually in three. I had it in threes originally. I thought it was going to be 1, 2, 3. And I had the original like idea, like was at the end of the staircase outside these specific points over the course of time. So like this structure happened before the stories did. Like I knew I had a lot of stories, and I knew I had a lot of things that happened to me that I could possibly tell. And so the manipulation of space and time of where they took place was very clear. So I wanted to make it a very clear through line of like my castmate Nathaniel and my close friend actually like made some really clear like establishments over like this. The beginning is about like her opening up and like awakening, and the second is about her being shamed, and the third is about her, you know, releasing those demons, and the fourth is about her defining things. So like when he set those apart for me, I was like, yes, they're chapters. They're very clear chapters of this person's life and how they come to define who they are as a sexual human being. And this play has gone through so many different like realms and like journals and like chapters over the course of time. Like the fourth scene actually didn't exist for a very long time, and then people kind of came in and was like, oh, should you know, add this character back? Is it important? Is it not important? So, and I'm still actually asking those questions, you know, even as it continues on. What serves the play more? You know, like we know what serves us more because like it happened to us, or it like this is important to me. But I think it's really important in theater to look at the sense of like what makes the message the most clear to the audience. How can they see what you're feeling? And that could be very different versus like what, you know what I mean, like what you decide to tell. So
I would have always wondered though about her if she hadn't come back. So
yeah, oh my god, exactly. No. You know, it's really funny is like it's in the future. That scene, the last scene is in, you know, there are things that I know, but it was actually the first scene. You know, what was really beautiful about that scene is like the first 3 are, you know, based off of things that have actually happened to me in my life. And then the fourth one is a very clear, like, this has not happened yet. This is what I think may or may not happen. But I really like, you know, the idea with the asides and like coming to the specific camera and stuff like that, which I'm still kind of debating on whether or not should stay or not, but I really wanted to give depth and like humanity to these people, because it's clearly from my point of view, but I still wanted to give these characters some deep weight, you know, and how they've affected me in my life in good and like, you know, different ways.
Well, I think as playwrights, and I think several of the group here are playwrights, you're going to go through numerous revisions.
Yeah.
You know, I think the original script that you sent to us did not have the ending. I think it just had 3 parts, wasn't it? Yeah. And so, you know, so I was surprised at the 4th one, you know, but I think you had said that you were still writing and stuff like that. But in the plays that I've written, they've gone through so many different, you know, formats and stuff, because you learn. And I like that you workshopped it, because that's how things get better and better.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I also think that like too, like the best thing about working and being an artist is just like throw as much as you want, and the better, you know, it's good to have too much, because then you can just like lean it out, cut the fat. And like, that's what we did for the first, you know, before we filmed anything, we sat in a room for 4 hours and just like talked through the script and was like, how can we make this better? How can we, it felt like a writer's room, to be true. And it was really lovely. Yeah.
Okay. So Beth had a question, and then Jim, and then I want to talk to the actors. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
First of all, great, excellent, high energy, well paced. Interestingly enough, I'm going to just make one small comment. I found the scene between Kit, and I didn't catch the first man's name. Sorry, somehow I missed that.
Ben, I think it was Ben. The first
Ben, okay. It got way too shrill for me personally, and it was the only one that did, which makes me kind of interesting to figure out why. But my question as a playwright is, you had everyone except you, or the main character, do wonderful, straight to the audience. This is what I'm really thinking. This is where we're going. And I wanted to know why you made that choice.
The asides, yeah, the asides are so honestly still something, Beth, that I am truly, honestly considering eliminating. Like I go back and forth every day of like this device, this specific device that like honestly goes back as far as like Shakespeare, to be honest. Like, how much does it serve the scene? And originally the reason why I decided to do it with these like specific like direct to camera or direct to audience soliloquies or asides, one could give the audience a more clear development of who these people were and like what they were going through at that time. Because like I said before, this is clearly from Kit's point of view. But if we take, you know, what these people were thinking or what they were going through at that specific moment, it might give us a more like, oh, I feel for them even more.
And
I want to feel for both of them. You know?
I think it adds intimacy to,
Yeah.
for those of us watching.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then Beth, I think it's really amazing that you brought that up, because I also at the same time am going back and being like, I'm also a dancer, and I'm also like a rhythm based person. And so like the only thing I have about these asides is like, oh shit, they're kind of breaking up the rhythm of the scene and the like go the momentum of the scene. Like I want it to keep driving, and I'm a very much like a like crescendo based person. Like I really love that part of scenes and like scene work. And so like, does it serve or does it not? And that's kind of the question I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Jim, you had a question.
I did. And so Beth kind of stole my question about breaking the fourth wall in those characters. So good observation about that. And Katie, I hope to have a much longer conversation about this in the future.
That's my uncle and my aunt.
Okay.
And so when you get to the point where you're going to produce it, keep me in mind as a scene designer. Okay.
Absolutely.
I've done that once or twice or 200 times. So congratulations. What a wonderful piece. And I know how difficult it is, sometimes even writing the autobiographical stuff, but I want to also compliment you on your sense of conversation between the characters. And I was going to ask you a little bit about the rapport that you had between your castmates. How much of that was improvised and how much of that was actually in the script? And then I also would like to just comment you also on the context between the lines, because that's the hardest thing. If there are truly playwrights in the room, and I suspect that there are, we all know that it's the dialogue between the dialogue lines that's the most difficult thing to do. And I think you captured a sense of that I got while I was watching it. So congratulations. And you and I will talk a lot more in the future about it. So.
Yay. Thank you, Jim.
My family, you know? Yeah, so my God, the people I chose to do this are people that I have truly grown up with, like Nathaniel, who is here right now, and then Louis, who played Ben, are people that I've known for like 10 plus years, people that like have truly developed me as a human being. And they're also people that I very much respect as artists. Like I didn't want to ask people who I was like, this is a workshop, so I need you to fucking have opinions, and I need you to like have them strong, and I need you to come at me with like really good points of view, as well as like, how do you feel? How does this make you feel? I appreciate strong feedback if it's coming from a good place. And that's why I chose the people I did. And then also like, you know, with Amber and like knowing Brittany and like her knowing each other, I was like, this person, I don't know, but like, let's do it. And then the second she got cast, the entire cast was like, you nailed this person. Like, you nailed this person. This is so strongly cast. It couldn't be better than if it was the actual person playing it. And I was like, yeah, that's great. So the rapport to answer your question, Jim, was out of control. It was out of control. Like the second we sat down, it was like, you know, as what I was talking about rhythm and like going through like the dialogue of like boom, 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 boom. That's how the rapport was in the room. And I think Amber and Nathaniel can like attest to that as well. Like we laughed so hard and we worked so hard and we just kept going and going, how can we make this better? How can we make this dialogue more impactful, more gripping, you know? And yeah, it was truly magic. It was truly magic.
Well, let's hear from Amber. Daniel. Amber, tell us what you want us to know.
Oh, I mean, I was so blessed to get to be a part of this production. You know, it was a really thrilling and intriguing ride, getting to be kind of the only person with not this kind of Michigander insight, you know what I mean? I did not come in right away with the history, but the thrill of getting to be the fly on the wall and listen to these stories and take in someone's real, beautiful, complicated life, and then get to play, step into this beautiful queer role on top of that was a true blessing. Like, you know what I mean? I was so pumped to play it. And Katie, I stand right behind what she said. The rapport was so palpable in the room that I didn't have to do anything. The chemistry was absolutely there. And then with their thrilling kind of information and guidance with a little bit of charm, well, you know, it was what it was. So it was just, it was a blessing to get to step into this role with this incredible creative cast. So truly, that was my experience.
I just love hearing that. Nathaniel, what do you want us to know?
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about the dialogue, and one thing particular for me that I immediately recognized the first time I read the script was that I think Katie just has such an incredible ability to really write natural dialogue. In reading the script, I was just like, yeah, we were speaking about the subtext. I was just like, it's all in there. Everything that needs to be known about these characters is really written in the lines, and it was easy to play everything because it just all was written so naturally and conversationally and worked so well. It was very easy to do.
I think the only thing that I would have added is that I wish that I could not have been script on stand, because it just is such a gift for an actor to have that so in your brain that you could have played more on that level. And I think like when you're given that kind of just naturalistic words that Katie gave us, I wanted to go further and just be able to give those asides, but you know what I mean? And then like see partner and be able to really like play with, Katie on a level that would have just been like, that would be the actor's dream. You know, the next step is to be able to put that script down and just truly play, you know.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the acting. When you're workshopping like this, and it's a blessing to have good cast with you, each one of them holding their own, so congratulations, Katie.
Yes. I mean, like I had professionals beyond my wildest dreams. Like that was honestly, like to be fully frank, what you saw was the first time we'd ever like stood up and like did these, like we had script work and we had like transition work and like certain things like that, but it was very fresh, and like for us to go as well as it did, I was like, fuck, man, like these are people who really love what they do and who really take it seriously, and also to like the deepest parts of their soul,
Well, you could tell that. You could tell you guys were really enjoying it and really into it. You absolutely could tell that.
Thank you.
What are some of your favorite lines? Anybody?
Shit. Oh God.
What are some of your favorite lines? Anybody want to jump in there? There were lots of them.
Yeah, they're vulgar. Go ahead.
I love to eat ass. I feel like it's probably the truest line.
It's one of my favorites as well because it's so true. Because no one talks about like deep, dark sexual things, and like it doesn't make you like whatever you want to do sexually. It's totally fine, but like it's so. I think it's really important to note that line comes right after she talks about her father being like semi-abusive, and then it comes like in with a bang. Like I think that's so funny and so weird at the same time.
You always expect it to come out of Eugene O'Neill or something. That'd be
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
It was beautiful and real for my character to have the aside to look at the character and say like, talking about her parents struggling with accepting who she is and saying like, hey, we're not bad people. I'm still trying to convince myself of this. And I think that anyone who has been through a generation where homophobia is really prevalent, or you're taught, for some reason, one thing or another, like that line is short and sweet, but it hits hard. Like you can be out and proud and very much like living who you are, but there is a kind of programming that can be rooted in us that like to whatever dynamic that is said by the actor who says it, but like it's palpable and it was real, very real for me. You know what I mean? Appreciated that.
Other lines that you guys loved.
There's a line actually that was cut that I would love to like know if it should have been cut or not, because like basically there's a line at the end of only because like I don't know if it fits or not, but at the end of the second scene, Ben says, like very, very close to the end, he says, like, I'm still trying to, I wish I could understand this. Like, I wish I could understand you. And Kit says something in response, and whether or not that is this or not, but she says either me too, like, I wish I could understand this too. Or she says, I'm still trying to understand who I am, me. And I want it to sound as natural as possible and like what people would actually say in those kind of words. But I think that's like a super powerful moment in someone's life, is like someone's looking at them and saying like, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, I can't get it. It's not computing in my brain. And I think that's what's most important about this show is like, it's no one's fault. Like no one is at fault here. Which is what I really wanted to try and like communicate. Like everyone's just understanding the things that they are taught to understand. And her as a queer person is kind of being like, yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out too. And I think that's one of my like most powerful the things that I've ever said,
Why did you cut the line? You were not sure about it?
No, I just like, it was like, honestly, we were in the script room and there was like, one of the actors was like, that feels cheesy. Okay. And I was like, yeah, it feels cheesy coming out of my mouth too. But like, again, that's the beauty of a workshop, is like going back and forth between like everyone, what the thing about beautiful like playwriting is, like everyone's thoughts are going to be different, and everyone's like idea of what they think should be said is going to be different. So like, you're going to go back and forth, and you're going to like, it's like a push and pull, a tug of war. But I think that at the end of the day, like what you want to say is most important. And you just got to like, trust what that is. But at the end of the day, like I also believe in like the people that I brought in. So I wanted to like give what they thought their fair due.
I had a lot of lines that I liked, but one that I wrote down was, I guess, after the third scene with the second guy. I forget the guy's name.
Matt.
Took the road trip with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was contemplating at the end, and he said, sometimes people show up in your life when you need them the most, and I think that's very true, that people come into your life, and they're a major part of your life for something that you need to learn or something that you need to go through. Some of them stay with you forever. Some of them are just for a moment, but I liked hearing it, I like that piece.
Yeah.
What other questions might you have for Katie? I think it's just really nice to hear the Playwright Talk, because this is a festival for the playwrights. We were very motivated at Powerstories to give this platform for you. So so that's why we wanted to have the talk back. Any other questions for Katie? How did it feel to be in the theater?
Oh God. Oh my God. So good. I mean, I think I fully blacked out. I don't know about you guys, but I fully blacked out. Like there was 3 people in the audience, 3 people, 3 very powerful people, like 3 people that I know and have like had full relationships with. Not romantic or anything, but like people that I like are like my family in New York City, like people who are fucking on Broadway right now, like came to my show. And even though there was 3 people in the audience, like I looked out in the crowd and I was like, oh my God, that like feeling of like you can't see anyone because the lights are so bright and you can't, like, you're just communicating. It was so good. After like this year, it was cathartic. It truly was. It was lovely. I didn't know how it would feel like hearing my own words coming out of my own mouth and coming out of people's mouths next to me, but like it was still so great. And also like I was sitting with my lovely roommate who didn't get to come to the live performance, but like watched it with me today and like put it on our our TV. He like streamed it on our TV or whatever, and we made popcorn and had wine. It was lovely. And he was like, this is so cool. I'm like, yeah, theater in 2021, it's a wild world, but like I'm so happy that it can still exist. It was lovely. It was so much fun being in there.
Well, I thank you, Katie, for exploring and honoring your gifts. I'm glad that psychic woman, whomever it was, and I love that shit, so I'm right there with you. I'm glad you said you're a writer, and I'm glad you listened. I think our lives are speaking to us, and I think if we listen, oftentimes we can really grow. So, and Nathaniel and Amber, thank you for bringing your gifts to help Katie make this dream come true. And we'll be following you. We want to see where you go from here. So please do not be a stranger. Please let us know how you are doing. And those of you that are in the audience, thank you for taking your time tonight to support Katie and her work. We love to write, we love to act, but we have to have an audience. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And if there's no other last comments,
Everybody smile.
Deb's going to take a picture.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
It means
You're a star.
And thank you for being so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I just love your enthusiasm. I love your enthusiasm. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, good night.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you again.
Amber, I love your tattoos.